Hello and welcome back to Swanage Model Railway. Bit of change going on the layout at the moment, as we've got these new platform lights in. But as this isn't one of my normal episodes, and I'll probably mention those in episode 6, we'll move on to the topic of the video, which is these two items right in front of me. So in front of me today we've got the Traintech RL1 relay controller. This is a dual relay control unit, and I have used so many of them. I think I'm up to 5. Yeah, 5 on this layout so far. This is number 6 at around 50 quid a shot. But they give me the ability to turn things on and off using DCC, much like these platform lights are using one. And I have several other things on the layout that do use them. And also, right here, we've got this new Traintech SL50 smart light with arc welding effect. So that's just a tiny little LED, or a board with an LED on it. That will be in the later half of the video, as that goes inside the new engine shed that I've got. This unit I'll be using both controls for the shed. So we've got the first control, which will be for the shed lighting, so I'll be able to flick that on and off. And the second control will be a smoke unit in the track inside the shed, just like I've got in 2 other places on the layout, one of which is in the middle of this platform right here, so you can just about make that out, and in the inspection pit on the turntable approach. So yeah, we'll start by using the relay unit. So we'll get that on the board and wired in. I'll show how I install them, as well as how to code them, and hopefully operating. And here, this one is rather simple actually, because it's already got those 2 white cables on it. And as I'm running digital on this layout anyway, from what I've so far been able to learn, as I've never used one of these before, is that they can also be given a digital code, which means I should be able to turn it on and off with track command as well. So those 2 white cables will most likely go straight to my track bus. But enough talking about it. Let's move on to the next step. All of this will be under panel 3. So we'll be working on this panel. So yeah, let's get that flipped up and worked on. Okay, now that we're underneath this panel, I've got the area where I'm going to mount the board, which is here, that way up. Now this is the turntable. We've got the 2 track powers from that siding, and up here's a hole where the powers will come down from the roof of the shed. So I've already pre-drilled that. I've got my track power coming to a terminal block here. I've also got these 4 cables here. Yellows are my 16 volt AC. The red and black are my 12 volt DC. They've came up from the bus lines at the bottom of the board. I always use yellow for my AC lines. It's the easiest way to distinguish them, I find. So yeah, first step is to mount the board, and then we can move on to the powers. Now, in this section, I've already got that welder light, which will wire straight into here and use the track power as long as it works that way. I'll have to look in the instructions just to double check. Now, the AC power is for the new smoke unit that will be going in around here, because the smoke units require the extra power, and the 12-volt power will be used to run the lighting in the shed. So I'm going to have to get an extra terminal block in there somewhere. I might mount it underneath here if I can get in there with one, and that will take the negative for the 12-volt as well as one of the AC feeds, as the other two will go into this unit. So yeah, let's start. Right, so that's the track power going in and down to the term. I've also got one of the ACs going to the relay unit now, as well as one of my 12 volts going there, which, as I said, leaves these two cables that will eventually go into a terminal block around here, waiting for the opposite legs. So these will feed the positive leg of the shed lights, as well as that one being the negative. Then this will take one side of the smoke unit, that one will take one side of the smoke unit, and I have connected those to the common ports. So you've got NO and NC, which is normally open and normally closed. The ones I connect up to are the normally opens rather than the closed ones. So if I come over to here, we've got one of my other units that I've used in the past. It has one free, but this one controls the smoke unit underneath the inspection bit, as you can see right there. So I just have to connect track power and then I'll be able to program that. Right, now that this is all ready to be coded, you can see the red light is currently active because I've connected my track power to the panel. Only a temporary connection so I can link up to it. So it's time to teach this unit its number and what it needs to know. So right here next to the red light we've got the learn button. Now this red light is also crucial, and I've set my controller up down below with the info. So if I just zoom that out, you can see the first two of these buttons are the ones I'm going to set this up to be. The third one is for the other light, which I'll do in a little bit after I show how I've done this and have this fully working. So to teach this its new number, we push the learn button once. So now you can see that's flashing. Now I'm given that the address 221, so I just switched it on my control, and now that's gone to a solid light. So and as there, when I was switching it on and off, you could hear it clicking on and clicking off, but that's only tuned this one. Got to tune this one now. So what we do, because it's channel 2, now you can see that's doing a double flash after I pushed it twice. So that's waiting to hear channel 2's code, which is 222. So I just switched that on. That has now clicked with it, so it switched that output on. So I can switch it off. So you can hear the outputs coming on and going off. So that's both of these outputs programmed in. So time to get the panel put down. But I'll give you a close-up of the unit whilst I'm using it. And you can tell that when I switch, the light goes brighter because it gets the command. And it's a single flash for when the first one's used, and a double flash for when that one's being used. So turn that on, we get a single flash. Turn that one on, we'll get a double flash. So that's working. I've now got to get it put down. I don't have the smoke unit yet, which uses the AC lines, which are the yellows, but I do have my shed lights, which I'll be able to connect to that relay output and that terminal block here, which is the other thing. I got that terminal block fitted, so it's got the negative line and other AC line. So I've got to make sure I connect the negative of the shed to that one and smoke unit to that one when I get the smoke unit. So let's just power that down and get this moved. Right, now we're on to this bit. So we're going to have a little look at this light and have a look at how to code this and get it working. I have so far found out that it's actually rather simple, because it's a single LED, it comes pre-wired, and you can see those two little soldered dots at the top there. You just have to bridge those temporarily to get this to go into a learning mode, just like pushing the button on the other unit. So I'm not going to be sticking it in anything as of yet, or for the purpose of this video, so it'll temporarily be put in the shed. But I've got two little crocodile clips set up for my track power at the moment, so we'll get that hooked up and see how it works. Okay, so here we go. I have not entered an address yet, so that's just going. So let's see if I can see around the blindingly bright light and get my hands on the Oh, whoops. So obviously I went slightly wrong there. Okay, so now I've got a solid white light with a flash. So I'm going to hit the button that I've designated for this light. So I've got the switch set to off at the moment, so if I turn that switch on, we get a nice bright flickering light. Now if I am to switch it off, we get the red glow from the material being hot. So let's briefly bring some stuff in and locate that in the shed just on the ground. Okay, so we have the shed on. I'm not going to be able to easily connect the shed up at the moment, even though I do have a hole drilled there and everything set up below. So the bit of footage you would have seen earlier would have been recorded from the Hornby Toy Fair, which will be going to short soon. So I've got one of my older engines in there. So if I just hit the button on the control, I mean, when it's actually installed properly, you wouldn't see the light itself. Now, periodically, it will stop doing some welding, do the cool off, and then start up again. So we'll just wait, and there it goes again. So if we get round to the front side, now I'm not turning this off and on, it's doing that automatically. But I can override it and tell it to turn off. But that's being powered directly off my DCC bus line, or a couple crocodile clips going to that connector. But that's just a temporary connection. It's also got a sticky pad on the back. These lights are rather small, smaller than I actually expected, to be honest. But like that was an easy to do connection. So we'll just turn that off, we can lift that off. So in comparison to my Loco, that's its size. But these are what, 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, so, or 10 by 10 millimeters. And okay, so here we have the 2 wires for the welding light. They connect to my track power bus. We've got the red light and black coming from the shed lights. So we've got the black going into the terminal for the negative. Red comes up here to the relay into the normally open port. We've also got our smoke unit right here, which goes into the normally open of that, and then down here to the AC line. So that's now all in. These Traintech units also have the ability for a mimic switch on the M slot, so you can use a switch to activate them, or a sensor as well. So you just hook a track sensor up to those ones, and that can activate them. If you want to know more about that, Traintech have a great video of their own that explain everything. I just use them as a basic switch for my digital. So we'll get this back down and we'll run through all of the new items in the area. Right, so now we're on the top side of the layout again. We got the lovely shed right there. So if I just get the shed lights to come on, so we'll push this one for 221, and you can hear the click of that going on and off. So turning that on, we've got that. Now the smoke unit that I pointed out is in that grate right there, and the welder light is right there. So if we turn the welder light on, just have a look at that going off. Brings more of the red into the light as it goes on for longer to give the effect of hot metal. So we'll put the lights back on. Now we can go for the smoke unit. And that's popping because I've not actually got that much oil in it at the moment. But you can see it's rather effectively filling the shed up. And it's also coming out the chimneys. So I'll turn it off. Now all of these, that smoke effect would usually have a tank engine in there, therefore it would steam up underneath that. So we'll quickly go and bring one in. Right, so now we've got a tank locomotive in there. We can see how the lights are reacting to that. Now let's have a look at the welder. So you can see it for the windows working on the engine, or for the front. So that's that effect. Now if we are prepping it to come back into service, we turn the smoke on. So that's quite clearly filling the bottom of the shed up with smoke now, as it can be seen covering over where the welder unit is. So at this point you wouldn't really have that turned on because it's just lighting up the smoke. So that's effective. It would be even more effective if it was an engine that had smoke unit fitted, because that would be coming out of the roof vents. So that's that. Right, so that's all of that. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you had any questions on those units, answered it. Feel free to ask a comment if you've got or put a comment in if you've got anything you'd like to know about the units that I've used. That welder unit was the first time for me, so yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try and answer them if I know the answer. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more. And if you're interested in keeping up to date on the layouts itself, feel free to follow us on our Facebook page. So, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.